Okay, it's the first day of the AEC Jazz Pop Platform 2021, and I'm gonna attend the first course in 5 minutes, or the first session, which is about diversity, identity, and inclusiveness, and I'm very excited about what will come out of it. Yeah, so what they did, they sort of did a wrap up on what was discussed, and of course songwriting was discussed as part of the curriculum, but also production and teaching in the music business. And there were many interesting approaches to this. They open up for anyone to comment on anything, and I personally found it interesting to comment on the production. I think as a singer-songwriter, it's a really powerful tool when you know how you want things to sound. So when you hand it over to someone else, they can hear where you want to go with this. So I think that's important. But that's music production in a more practical way. There's also like a more creative way of using it as a sort of composition tool. I chose to join the breakout room about what role singer-songwriting should have in the pop curriculum. And it was pretty interesting. Like, I am at the HKU as a singer, but I am really more identifying as a singer-songwriter or a composer. I was wondering, could that be part of my title somehow? So this was kind of like a question of identity. A lot of people agreed that that songwriting can open up your musical abilities for people to properly connect with playing standards, for instance. The only way you can connect here too is through your own sound, which you develop when you play or sing your own music. And I think that was that made me think. It's Friday, and I just attended the first session, which was about, amongst other things, motivations while doing online learning. So basically online learning and mobility as a student, where we discussed Erasmus. We were sent into breakout rooms. My group, we discussed the intensive short term Erasmus days, where you can be in 2 countries within a year, for instance. I'm not doing an Erasmus, but I still felt, I still commented, as I'm also a student studying abroad. All of us who are students studying abroad, we agreed that it's a really good way to check in with where you are on your musical path, and also felt that we had actually gained some kind of confidence in what we do. One guy was a drummer from the Netherlands. He went to the UK and actually found out that he could do stuff, he could do gigs, and people actually wanted him to play. And I think that's a really important thing to bring with you. Also, girl, she had a point. She was studying in Den Haag, that the Netherlands is actually a perfect country for workshops or stays within one country, because there are so many conservatories. It would be really interesting to do a lot of workshops across all together different conservatories. Afterwards, we went out of the breakout rooms and we discussed online learning, which is for most people not a long-term solution, even though there's a discussion about it. People don't want to be online for that long. One student had a point, which was that some people actually have a lot of challenges in terms of using Zoom. If you're living with your family and you only have a certain amount of PCs, if you have a bad internet connection and everyone is online, if you don't have a piano at home. I experienced that myself while moving. So I think all these things are also important to put into consideration. My point was sort of that the teachers shouldn't give up on the practical stuff just because we're on Zoom. It's not like real life, no it's not, but it's really important to connect with other students through playing together, or with your teacher through playing, even though it's on Zoom. Then we had a session with the drummer and author of several educational books, Benny Greb, which was really inspiring. I think he talked very much about structuring your practice sessions and how to get most of it. He talked about recording as an important tool for this. So you record yourself and actually analyze and listen to what you're doing in the practicing room. The first time he did it, he only spent, like, out of I think 2 hours or something, 1.5 hours, he spent 7 minutes actually playing what he wanted to practice. He also talked about it in relation to teaching. Last but not least, there was the part with the guest speaker from Snarky Puppy. He's called Michael Leake. First of all, he talked about the awareness of playing and dealing with different music genres and what cultural heritages are connected to what genres and what styles of music, and being very aware of this and your own position in this and how you're biased and stuff. He himself learned by doing and by actually watching his mentors in their lives and how they lived and worked with music and with other people. He was sort of arguing that teachers should be aware that they're just a supplemental part of a student's education, and the student will collect him or herself from what they see and what they hear and make their own approach this way, but that they should be as much connected to the roots of these genres as possible. I asked the question about whether this this awareness of cultural the cultural heritage of different genres, whether he brings this into his compositional process, or if he sort of releases it when he composes. Okay, so it's Saturday and I just attended the first 2 sessions at the conference. First one was really inspiring. I think it was with Magda Giannuccu. She's this multi artist, both doing her own stuff but also like teaching and leading groups and stuff. And what I really got from it was like she showed these DIY music videos she made. She did get funding, but she made everything with a group of people that she gathered. And I think this is something important, especially now where everything's so uncertain and you feel as an artist or a musician very dependent on fundings and the options that are or aren't there at the moment. And she really proves, I think, that you're the one who can start things no matter what. So I guess that was pretty inspiring for me. The second one was with Melissa Aldana, who's a tenor saxophonist. She really had this point of view that you can only reach like a free moment as a musician when improvising stuff if you have this baggage of knowledge within genres and stuff. So she definitely spoke about having your own voice, but getting this by freeing yourself from, like, technically to be able to express your creativity. And I think that was really interesting, but I also think it was interesting when Hanny, she sort of questioned this way of thinking, because at the HKU we have this we also have Musician 3.0, but they're very open to people starting their path as musicians by creating and being creative, and then finding or developing their technical skills along the way. And for me, I can say that I really agree with Hanny. For me, I'm not a jazz musician. I'm a creator and composer, and I have a totally different approach to writing. For instance, like I will even see light and color and movement and turn this into sounds. I use the technical part, but it's sort of left aside when creating. So I definitely think that it's not strictly necessary. Yeah, so it really made me think. And I'm not sure I totally agreed with Melissa, but yeah, but it was interesting. So the conference ended for me on Sunday with a whole day for just singers, which was really interesting. We had some info about mic techniques, which was pretty nice, because it's something quite urgent. After that, the focus was mainly on the creative teacher. Yeah, so to give an overall evaluation or my experience with this conference is that it was super interesting to get insight into what discussions are held for higher music educations in Europe. Super nice to get close to some really successful musicians, and I really liked how they included the students on the same level as teachers. Sort of became clear to me that our school, in my opinion, from what I heard from other schools, is pretty good. There's a pretty high level of attention to students and students' well-being. So it was a really nice experience, and I'm filled with information and energy to continue my journey, and would definitely recommend other students to join.